Yeah, you think about it. Numbers are strange, no?
Cheese is a weird thing.
Well, it is a weird thing, but I certainly think numbers are weird in the sense of like you take this for granted. Yes, we know them and call them numbers, but they're not.
Did you ever get tripped up
too
about
far away from a letter.
like the philosophy of zero and
yes, yeah, like the concept of it?
How does that like simple add and subtract start to get really weird?
Yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's like the alternatives of like base 10 math versus like base 8 math.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, that's always weird. Like, it's amazing how like sometimes the simplest things are the things you interact with every day, if you really think about them,
they start to fall apart.
Yeah, or they become absurd in the sense of how did they get there? What are they exactly? Why?
Existence is weird, man.
No, definitely. So I have a challenge for myself today.
Okay.
Shoot,
what's the challenge?
You have to, I don't know, well, here, you tell me what the parameters are, or like what the penalty is, I guess.
Okay.
I was
love
going
doing
back through
so.
When I was going back through listening to some of our past podcasts, I'm like, damn, I mention the same movies or stories a lot, maybe too much.
Who doesn't?
So
you have the things that stick.
So I want to try and challenge myself here and not compare anything that we talk about tonight to Lord of the Rings or Raiders.
That's definitely going to happen. I don't think we've had an episode yet where you have
That's what I'm saying. So I have to, you have to keep me honest here and don't cut it out if I say it.
Okay.
But what's the penalty, though, if I do compare it to something?
We're probably going to get 40 lashes.
You took my only food.
No, I'm going to stop.
Well, I like the one who's like, you broke my heart. Now I'm going to break something of yours.
I follow that stupid meme page where they just post like every frame of the show in order.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, seriously, like every frame of that show, animating that show, they had to have just been like having a ball because it's like every single frame there's something ridiculous about it.
Oh, no, especially when Steven Hillenburg was at the helm.
Yeah.
I think he did a lot on Rocko's Modern Life.
That's right. I'd forgotten that.
Before he came over to do SpongeBob. I think he was on Ren and Stimpy too, maybe.
That would make sense. Like,
sure
the art styles would make sense.
But yes, there's so many. Like the one you sent the other day or last night or this morning, whenever you sent it, the one where he's like, pretending to drown.
Yeah, I think about like when you're trying to like feel out someone's like memes that they're gonna laugh at or not. that's how I always look at it. I'm like, no, not fun. Knocks them dead.
Lifting weights, big laugh. Frisbee in face, kills. Surfing, knocks them dead. Pretending to drown.
No. Crosses it out.
Yeah, there's so many like little things in that, at least in the early seasons. Like I didn't keep up with SpongeBob into the later half.
Oh, I don't think that I did either. I'm trying to like catch up a little bit, but it's like a passive watch.
Yeah, but the early seasons, the early episodes, I just think there was some good humor going on in there.
Yeah, I think that good kids shows that are like really well crafted, like have stuff in there for like an adult sensibility to laugh at. Mm-hmm. It's like under the surface.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
I watch Bluey a lot with my niece and nephew.
No, so do I.
There's a lot of just like really meta weird humor in like the highest layer of that show.
No, absolutely. I've watched it too. It's so funny. Like there's definitely adult themes going on there. My brother and his wife, they love it too. Good. So that's how Mark Hamill did when he did an interview about like his voice acting. He talked about how he did the voice for Fire Lord Ozai in Last Airbender.
Yeah.
Oh shoot!
There you go.
I already lost the challenge.
There's one of them.
Damn it!
As soon as you said Ozai, it like set me off.
Damn it!
There it is.
Well, I wasn't trying, man. All right, starting after this. It's
like Bill Hader and Barry. Every time he does something illegal, he's like, starting now. That he's gonna be
okay, starting now. Okay, but starting after I finish the sentence. He talked about how show animated, yes, it has like that childish flair, but it also has something. There was a lot of intellectuality going on there, and when you can get the whole family to watch it, that's when you've got something special going there. But yes, okay. Well, you never gave me a penalty, so it doesn't matter.
You get one freebie. Let's see. What is a good penalty for this?
Yeah, what's a good penalty?
I get, if you slip up again, I get to pick a month's worth of episodes.
Okay. That'll work.
Per slip up. You have potential to screw up a whole year here.
I do.
And I say screw up because it would be screwing it up.
Am I really... Are we really going to slip up 12 times? All right, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
It could
Okay,
happen.
starting now. So if I go silent,
that was your freebie. You get one freebie.
if there was a lot of dead space in this episode, you will know why.
Dead Space could be a reference. I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I was not. I was just saying the term dead space here.
Okay,
come
fair.
on now.
I'm going to hold you
That's
to
semantics. That's semantics. All right. Here we go. All right. So
Starting now.
starting right now. All right. So let me ask you this. I'm gonna ask you this. What is the rule with greeting cards? Like when you get a birthday card, right?
Okay.
Or now I guess you get like holiday cards, whatever. Do you have to hold on to them for a while? Like what's the timeline? What's the agreed upon? Oh, I have my birthday cards. It's now been 3 months since my birthday. Do you hold them forever? Like I don't have birthday cards from when I was like 5 years old still. I don't think.
No, I don't know. I guess I typically hold like maybe a year. I don't know, just so I can have that like years like go back and look at
birthday card. Okay, so you swap them out with the new ones. Okay,
I would say that's about
All
what
right.
I do. I don't think I do that like consciously, but it's just kind of how it's been going.
Yeah. Okay. I've always been curious because it's like I feel bad sometimes getting rid of some, but
Well, yeah, because it's something that somebody put a lot of thought in, cared enough to send you something.
yeah,
You want to give it more reverence than just a passing glance.
yeah, exactly. And the reason I bring that up is because our main topic of discussion today, if I can find my little outline, there it is in fact deals with arguably the king of greeting cards or queen or ruler of greeting cards, whatever you want to use.
Of greeting
The conglomerate of greeting cards, and that is Hallmark. That golden crown that we all want, but none of us can wear, or at least I can't.
They do have a cornered market on the Christmas, as it were.
Well, yeah, I mean they got stores, they got studios, and specifically today we are talking about what we're going to try and explore the popularity of the Hallmark Christmas movies today to the best of our ability.
And there's quite a few of them, so he can't.
We're not going to get through we're not even going to scratch the surface of how many there are. It's insane.
There's an absolute mountain.
Yes. I wonder if you I'm assuming they didn't shoot these on film, but if you could put these all onto film and you stacked them up, they'd definitely give you a hill, no doubt. You definitely have a hill of.
I do love on the image that you have on your research material how like every poster looks like it's very interchangeable.
Yes,
like they almost look all the same.
Like look at that. Like they are literally wearing like it. Okay, all right. Let's get into this.
Let's dive in. Let's do it.
But yes, we're talking about the Hallmark Christmas movies, which is on the Hallmark Channel. Now they have more than Christmas movies. In fact, I think they have 2 channels. I think they have.
That would make
sense. They might even have a third. I don't know. They've got the regular Hallmark channel. They've got Hallmark Movies and Mysteries. And they've got Hallmark After Dark. I made that third one up.
I was going to say, does that really exist?
No, I made that third one up.
Keeping me on my toes. I do see a couple of Days of Our Lives stars in some of these posters. Am I seeing that
yeah,
correctly?
there's. I think I'm almost positive. Recently, actually, I think I saw Bruce Campbell in a Hallmark movie.
Oh, please tell me that's true.
I'm pretty sure. You'd have to. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure
I need to
saw
look into that one.
Either that, or I was hungover or drunk, or who knows, or not paying attention. But I'm almost positive I saw Bruce Campbell in a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Fun fact about me, though, I did have a bit of the obsession with Days of Our Lives growing up.
Oh no, it was in my house too. Yes, the soap operas were. They were big, I think, at least, or more popular than they are now, or at least that I remember back when we were like younger, like
because I always thought Mr. Mom was hilarious, like that scene where he's like just so into the soap operas, and it made me laugh all the time. And before I knew it, I was like, even like a 10-year-old kid, I was still like watching soap operas, like, no, he had the vasectomy. That can't be his baby.
And then you turn, you're like, Mom, what's a vasectomy? Is that like some sort of seafood dish that you get?
It's really fancy. You can only get it at one place in town.
And here we have vasectomy served 3 ways.
How would you like that cooked,
bit
sir?
Of holiday sauce on the side. Oh, God. Anyway, but yeah, what we're talking about? Yes, we're talking about the Hallmark Christmas movies. We're going to analyze. We're going to try our best to analyze and show. I mean, I don't think this is a big secret, but they're pretty much the exact same movie over and over and over. But they are popular.
It is the song that never ends.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes on
It
and
truly
on, my
is.
friends.
and it goes. Is that it? Is that all that? How that song?
No,
goes?
there's more of it, but I don't remember.
Oh, okay. Yeah, absolutely. But yes, I'm going to apply one of the books that I read in school by Vladimir Propp, and it's called The Morphology.
Going with the deep cut.
Yeah. It's called I'm about to get boring on you here. It's called The Morphology of the Folktale. And I really think this particular book is very influential in narrative structure and like theory. And it's a short book. It's not a very long book. So if you are looking for something light to read, like that's not, I guess light in the sense of like it's not a lot of pages, but it's packed with a lot of information because it's more about breaking down stories rather than actually telling you a story. But if you need to take a break from genre fiction and you want to read like a textbook,
yeah,
I don't know, whatever you want to do with your Friday or Saturday night, I would recommend this one because you got to pay attention to what he's talking about, but it's not the most difficult read, I would say. And I just think by applying this to the Hallmark movies, because they're so formulaic, I think it's be an interesting thing how we can discuss how you can draw inspiration from things that you see, read, watch, partake in, but also being able to maintain originality, voice, and style in something, in anything that you want to do. So yeah.
But like,
have you watched
where does that? I've seen a few of these, like, but more of like older ones. Honestly, like it's been a while since I've tapped into them.
Yeah.
So I always see the jokes and stuff, and like everybody poking fun at them. But I honestly haven't even really sat down and watched one in quite a long time.
Yeah. No, I mean, they're on you got like the Countdown to Christmas, you got Christmas in July. They're definitely out there. I mean, I've even played, like, there's drinking games for them now.
That'd be fun.
Hallmark Beer Miss.
I like that.
Yeah, they're very structured to the point where like the final kiss happens within the last 10 minutes.
Okay.
Of the movie. Like you can literally take bets if you go and watch a Hallmark movie. You can literally then take bets and seeing like, okay, but what time is the final kiss going to happen?
Did you ever do the Santa hat in the corner for the 2 shots?
Yes.
I love that one.
You might have to decide what counts as the final kiss. Is it the one that the most grandiose kiss, or is it literally the final one that you see on screen? So there could be some conflict there. But yes, no, definitely fun to watch, even if it's just to hate on it in a good way. In a good way.
They basically asked to be poked fun at.
I think it's so much. I think what one sidebar here I think that's funny and interesting is how I think they're all shot in Canada. Is Hallmark a Canadian company? I don't even know.
I don't know.
Maybe
That
not.
would make sense, but
I think a lot of them are shot in Canada, and then but they're mostly enjoyed here in the United States. So I just think that's like hilarious. Canada is invading, is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, that's true.
We need to enact sanctions right away. Okay. All right. So we got to get through the boring stuff first.
What's boring about it?
And that I don't know.
Gold mine.
I'm gonna talk about a Russian scholar from long ago. Have you ever heard? Now, maybe, and I am curious. I had never heard of this book before going to school.
I've heard the name. I've never heard of the book.
You've heard the name? Vladimir Propp is who we are discussing here at the moment.
P-R-O-P-P.
Yes, 2 P's at the end. I mean, and I'm sure I'm not saying that. I'm sure I'm butchering the name. I'm sure there's a more...
Maybe he was a vampire.
Huh? What are you talking about?
I don't know. I'm just saying. Prove me wrong.
No, he was... I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to try. No, so he was Russian. 1895, he's born.
Okay.
And he's a Russian scholar, folklorist, and he is known for his seminal work, and it's called Morphology of the Folktale, and he published it in 1928. So it's almost 100 years ago now that it's been around. And like I said, this is considered highly influential in the narrative field, and he particularly analyzed Russian folktales specifically. And by looking, that's where one thing, if you ever do read the book, that's where it can get a little tough to follow, because I was not familiar with the folk tales that he's referencing or giving examples of at the time. It's almost like this is definitely a book that demands one-on-one in-person discussion. You read it, you go to class or you go to a book group and you have people discuss it. I think that's where it really thrives and gets better, is when you discuss what he's talking about with other people.
Yeah, very much like an analytical piece versus like just something to throw back and enjoy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. 100%. So by looking at these folktales, he identified at least 31 basic narrative functions and like character types that, when put together, form like the basic structure of these stories, of these narratives, these folktales. And honestly, this was one of the first things that actually tried to create a science out of art. And it laid like a foundation for narrative structure, archetypal characters. And what I think is really interesting is it brings about what we've talked about before, that universal quality when it comes to storytelling. That is, I've always said, one of the big things you want to aim for in any work that you do, because that's what's gonna be the thing that yeah, and that'll be the thing that lasts or stays. Oh, let me get a swig of water here. Hang on.
Running dry.
Okay.
I was thinking like you left and went to another room. Just left me on there.
No, not yet.
Oh, but so it is going to happen, just not yet. Gotcha.
No, just not yet. So no, his contributions definitely have had a lasting impact on things like folklore, narrative analysis, literary theory, screenplay writing, poetry.
All that important stuff.
Yeah, definitely all that important stuff. Some of the least important things in the world, although there is a big argument for creativity and art. And this kind of talks about that, touches it very little bit. But like, you ever heard the term, we're a federalist government? Not to get political, but have you heard that? I'm sure that you've heard of that, federalism.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So like you have your federal government, you have your state government, you have your county, and then you have your municipal. Having those layers. So like if a state does like a law, it doesn't, and it goes poorly, it doesn't affect the whole country. Laboratories of democracy about like states. So it's like a way that you can, something really good, then you can bring it to the whole. Something really bad, the damage has been minimized. That's not to, it's still, I mean, there's still real consequences there, but the comparison I'm trying to make here is that catharsis you get from art and the experience that you get from it is something can really help, specifically mentally. It can help treat depression, anxiety. It gives you sometimes some of the things you might not find in reality.
Yeah, I've even heard of stuff like art in things like Alzheimer's and stuff. You hear stuff like that all the time.
Yeah, no, even like video games too.
Yeah.
They've been used, like they can help improve certain ones.
Yeah,
they can help improve like memory, and it keeps your brain sharp.
I just pictured like an entire like nursing home playing Call of Duty.
Playing Call of Duty.
Sorry, that was just really funny.
No, you're good. Oh, hang on. Okay, I think I threw up my back.
So it's you and the old folks now. Playing Call of Duty.
Oh, anyway, so yeah, so he essentially showed that like these stories, which were older than when he was doing this, all had some similar things going on. He came up with, and I'm distilling this down for the sake of for the show, but he came up with 31 particular things. I'm just going to go through them real quick here, just so we like have something. There's absentation, a family member or someone leaves home. Interdiction, this is like a prohibition or command is given. Violation of the interdiction, the prohibition is violated. You have reconnaissance, you have delivery, trickery, complicity, villainy or lack, meditation, counteraction, departure, first function of the donor, hero's reaction, receipt of a magical agent, guidance, struggle, branding, victory, liquidation, return, pursuit, rescue, unrecognized arrival, unfounded claims, task, solution, recognition, exposure, transfiguration, punishment, and wedding. Say those back to me right now, exactly as I did. Go.
I picture it like a sobriety test. Now say them in reverse.
Look into both our eyes at the same time and say it.
Now see, there's a new reference. I'm proud of you. That's the one we haven't done.
Oh, see, yes.
Keeping it fresh. I like it.
Keeping it fresh. Absolutely. So anyway, that was I just wanted to at least put them out there so that everyone knows. But those were essentially like the building blocks, little pieces, and that he was looking at and saying, okay, these are the plus signs, the equal signs, how a period means the end of a sentence or an exclamation mark, or how if you're doing something scientific, if you're let's see it like give me something scientific, Brian. I can't think right now.
Vials,
help me.
Bunsen burner, beaker, chemicals.
Well, like the data, it's almost breaking down a narrative into data in the way that, okay, let's, as best as you can, obviously. And that fundamental narrative element, it just kind of paves the way for a more systematic understanding of storytelling. Like how, like you can't not help it. How many times where we had to take a test and it's like, okay, try to find the so-and-so called points that they were teaching us in the story.
Yeah, I remember a lot of that. Yeah. And it was like to try and find out like X, Y, Z bullet points of where these particular elements were resolved, or it was a lot of that.
Yeah. And it's just, again, the main common thing that I love about it is just that it's saying there is something beyond just the surface of the story that we as human beings tend to be drawn to, that we like, and that tends to always find its way to the top, that the cream rises to the top.
I was just thinking the same thing. Oh yeah. Oh, the cream rises.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
The old Slim Jim.
Oh man, I haven't had a Slim Jim in a long time.
Got to be a couple years for me. Last big road trip. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not stray from the topic
tangent,
here.
Sorry.
Yes, I'm tangenting. Tangenting? That's not a word.
Tangentializing? We're literally on a tangent about tangents. It is an interesting list. I mean, you look at that, it does make for an interesting breakdown on it.
Yeah, but keep in mind too, he was doing this from scratch. He didn't have much to go on like we do. I think we talked about it before in our structure episode. There's so many structures out there in so many different ways.
Yeah.
You can name it however you want. If I had to just break this down as simply as possible, it is just understanding when you look at something, not trying to copy it. You don't want to just completely follow the recipe. You want to say, okay, why did this work? Why do people like it? And if they do like it, will it last? Or could it be something that's just more? Because sometimes that can be the answer too. It's just fashionable.
I do think a good example of that is Reservoir Dogs.
Yes.
Because I was reading recently, I was looking, as I always do, I was studying up on The Thing, and I found out that Tarantino was researching John Carpenter's The Thing very heavily. Oh, that's interesting because I can see a lot of parallels there. And he was like, he just wanted to find a situation to get this group of guys locked into one building. I was like, oh, that's cool. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Something you wouldn't think would inspire it is like clearly.
Yeah, and no, that's exactly what you look at this and you say, okay, I don't have to completely pull something out of nothing, because that is extremely hard to do. It makes you think too, like all the really old stories, like the myths, if you keep going back, I would love to know where they originally came from. Yeah. Someone, somewhere, a group of people way back when had to just start talking about and either someone decided let's put these together, or that's what's interesting, because these did eventually come from nothing. Or you think you're going the dark route. Yep. You're going the dark route there, aren't you?
Everything's connected. Everything's a
little teaser there, possibly. Anyway. But yes, no, that's a great example of drawing the inspiration and knowing that a firm foundation is kind of already exists there for you. The notion of what needs to happen kind of already done. You're going down a path that's been blazed before. Now it's just like, okay, how do I leave my own mark? You can focus then more on the originality and the style and how you're going to tell the story, rather than, I got to figure out what the hell is a beginning. I have to understand what the hell a beginning is. It's like, no,
you don't have to completely build the machined from scratch. Like, you know,
Yeah, it's not 12,000 BC. You have a lot that you can work with. And much like how certain scientific principles exist whether you believe in them or not, I'd say same thing here. These narrative principles are there and they work whether you want to use them or not. They're there.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of influence too. It influenced Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, which I think maybe might be a little bit more popular. People have like heard about before. I think so. No? When you say that one's...
Yeah, no, it strikes a chord. Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Okay. You haven't heard? I thought, didn't we talk about hero's journey with Joseph Campbell?
Yeah. Sorry.
Or did I dream that? It's possible.
We didn't like talk specifically on that, but we've definitely touched on it a number of times. I know you and I outside of the show have talked about it for sure.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, just these recurring narrative functions and character types and distilling it down makes writing a story a bit more, or I should say less daunting than it can be. Because like I know so many times where like you're just staring at a blank page.
You're at a bar on a Friday night.
You find yourself at a bar on a Friday night figuring out, oh man, drinking with your buddies, and you're like, nothing's gonna happen. But yeah, let's go into why we're all here. That's the Hallmark Christmas movie. And I'm gonna try my best to use the morphology of Propp, of the folktale, and show you why these are like a good example.
I'm ready to go down this spiral. Take me on a journey.
Okay. First off,
and it just ends there. It like cuts to the newspaper headline. He's like, he died mid-sentence.
Oh my God. Okay. So one of the things like that is like, I think hugely common in the Hallmark movies is first one is like the hero's departure. And if you go back to like the long laundry list, you've got kind of in there, you've got absentation where like something, either the hero leaves or like a family member calls them back or leaves or something like that. And this is always like a Hallmark movie. What's like the classic? It's usually the protagonist is usually a woman. And at least I think it might always be. Is there a Hallmark movie with a male protagonist? I don't even know.
There should be. No, I'm just kidding. I'm gonna cut that.
I honestly don't know. Now that not that I'm complaining, I honestly don't know if there is.
It'd be interesting, like to go through the entire Hallmark library and see.
That would be there. You go. There's that, putting a different twist on it, but the thing is still the same. You usually see it like the main character. She's got a busy life, lives probably in an urban area most likely, and they're going to set out on into like a small town, which usually has like the name of a Christmas decoration, or some sort of Christmas thing. And we're going to set off in this journey. So that's, and that can pretty much encompass almost like the first four that I had mentioned before.
That would be Ascension.
And you don't need to know the names. It's just that there's that call to adventure. Essentially, you always want to make sure that when you're starting off a story, you want that catalyst. I've heard that disturbance that is going to force the character out of their current lane in life or their current comfort zone. And that's always a key thing too.
Established order.
Yeah, and that's always a key thing too, is you almost have to like make it seem like the character thinks they're comfortable, but in reality they're not. That's sometimes where I think Hallmark, that's where you get a lot of their conflict comes from.
Yeah.
Is the main character be like, if they're like a huge big time CEO or like whatever of a company making dough and they like it, but deep down
making that dough hand over fist.
Absolutely. But deep down they don't like it. There's that inner conflict, which is always primo. So then they're brought back to like a small town, and there's always that like magical setting that they have. Now the big thing then you get next, you have like villains' actions. And this with Hallmark movies, you don't always necessarily have a physical villain, although sometimes you can. This can be if the main character is already with someone and then they come home and then meet like an old friend or flame that they knew from years back in the small town, and then it's like, oh, they start falling in love with that guy, but then what happens to the one that they're already with? What happens to their piece of the action from the other world that they went into? But usually I would say the big villain sometimes tends to be in the Hallmark movie tends to either be the character's own inner conflict or something that they're grappling with due to their job, business deal going wrong, some other misunderstanding, or something that like happened years ago. Even if it was something that the main character left their home and then their love interest when they're coming back hasn't forgiven them for doing that. I've seen that 100 times. It threatens that Christmas spirit of the movie.
It cannot threaten the essence of Christmas. It's kind of like trick or treat. How we talk anything that threatens the rules of the holiday.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. These, trick or treat. Yeah, they're very similar to a Hallmark Christmas movie. Same things.
Yeah.
Same thing. Now, trick or treat plays around with the structure a little bit more than a Hallmark movie does because Hallmark's very
by the
book on time. This is definitely, if you want to study, like I'd say, like timing, Hallmark movies are a good thing to watch. Like if you want to try and get everything in 2 hours, like bam, which will probably be more like an hour and 40 because I do think there are commercials on a Hallmark movie.
I'd be interested to see if there's any like Illuminati level like sync ups, like with Wizard of Oz and Pink Floyd. Like if there's anything that synchronizes to like the story pattern of all Hallmark Christmas movies.
I'm sure there is.
Gotta be. Now we gotta find it.
There has to be. The Hallmark Christmas movies, when did they start? They've been around like for so long now.
Scholars maintain that cave paintings had Hallmark Christmas movies painted on the walls.
Anyway, so you got hero's departure, then you have the villain action, then you have you'll get in Propp's theory, you'll have what's called the donor's magical assistance. And by donor, these are just names he gave characters. He was just trying to put a name to these instances that he noticed in the folk tales that he was studying that were always happening. The donor's magical assistance. This is a character who provides a magical agent or item to help the hero. I'd say arguably one of the biggest ones you'll ever see, and I don't think I've ever referenced this before, though it's not a big surprise, is the original Star Wars. Have I said that? Did I lose? I don't think I've ever said that one.
It's been a bit. I'm going to let that one slide.
You're going to let that one slide?
I'm going to let that slide, but it is in the territory.
I only say that because I feel like
I don't think you've mentioned that one in a long time, which is why I let it slide.
Okay. They bring some sort of magical agent or item to help the hero. And in a Hallmark movie specifically, this can be an old friend. It could be just the spirit of Christmas itself. It could be their old love interest. It could be a mentor, a parent. There's always that one character who says, oh, you got to go back here and here. I'm going to help you by I'm going to let you use, I think I remember one recently where the guy lets her use his farm for she was like a wedding planner or something. And he lets her use his farm. So he's working as both the donor and the villain at the same kind of time. That's a lot. Hallmark movie, to keep it, going back to the timing thing, to keep it tight, they'll often combine character tropes types together. They'll make one character represent all three of these, but you don't have to do that. You can have them be separate or you can have them be one. It doesn't matter. All ends up being the same thing. But I was just saying one of the big ones, like going back to Star Wars real quick, when Obi-Wan gives Luke the lightsaber for the first time. That's arguably one of the biggest.
Their Excalibur
donor. Moment. Yes. It literally is the Excalibur moment. And King Arthur getting the Excalibur from the Lady of the Lake, or pulling the sword from the stone, meeting Merlin. That's where a lot of that comes from. But you can even look at, I got to stop. Don't make a reference that I've said before. Hang on here.
I picture you just have like a list. You're trying to cite.
I should have made a list. I should have done that. Okay, don't say this.
That's why you always leave a note.
And that's why you always leave a note. I'm trying to think, what have I seen recently that I can compare it to more? Oh, okay. So I'll give it more recent one. The Barbie movie.
Okay, I like that.
When there's that like call to adventure. She's kind of always sort of had it, but it's kind of been there. Once again, going back to they think they're comfortable, but really they're not. And help me out here because I've only seen it once. So if I get some of it wrong, but like
Amateur
when they're
hour.
Dancing, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm
joking.
I'm not the professional that you are, Brian. When they're like doing their like night dance, their party, their girls' night.
Yeah.
Right?
Every night is girls' night.
And yeah. Every night is boys' night.
Sunglasses over sunglasses.
Mm-hmm. When she like just kind of shouts everything about dying or something like that.
It's so good.
And then it's just like stops. And then she goes to, is it like Weird Barbie, I think? Kate McKinnon's character was. Wasn't that what she was called or something like that? Or Strange Barbie. Well, okay. Well, she's one of the Barbies, and she literally holds up the two shoes, right? Isn't that what she holds up? And they do a little bit with it, and she's like, if you take the what was it, the sandal? It's literally like the Matrix, the red and the blue pill moment.
It is Weird Barbie. Officially, it is Weird Barbie.
If you take the flip-flop or the sandal, I forget now what the two shoes were, or the pink heel, we'll just say, I'm probably getting the shoes wrong. But if you take the one, you go back, everything goes back to the way it was. If you take this one, you'll go on a journey and you'll find out more. And they play a comedic bit there to say, no, I'll have everything go back to the way it was. And she's like, no, you really want to take this one. You want this other thing. That's essentially one of the magical artifacts that is given to the character. So you see it a lot. There's, once again, that moment. And again, the names of, like, he calls it the donor and the magical item. It doesn't mean necessarily literally magical. It's just something that they're getting that is pushing them forward in the story. And you see that a lot in certain movies. In not just movies, but books a lot of times. Especially like genre fiction books. If you get involved in more like literary things, then it can get a little different. But yeah, definitely. And in a Hallmark movie, it's usually always going to be there. Probably around like I'd say this is probably like maybe 15 to 20 minutes in. Maybe not even that late. That might be way too late. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you watch a Hallmark movie at all?
It seriously has been a few years. Like I think probably like 2016 even might have been the last time I saw one.
Oh man, you're missing out. You gotta. These are just too much fun to watch.
I guarantee they are. I do not doubt it.
Anyway, so going forward, you have the hero's reaction. Hallmark protagonists typically react to challenges with determination, and it could be something as like, let me see if I can go look up here. Let's see if I'm looking at just like a title here. Got Christmas Under the Stars, Christmas on My Mind, Merry and Bright, Holiday Hearts, Our Christmas Love Song, A Blue Ridge Mountain Christmas.
We should do like the Christmas drinking game and watch a couple of. I think that'd be fun.
Oh, it's so much fun. It's so much fun to do. A Homecoming for the Holidays. Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, you'll have this moment where at least the one
I thought that was a title. You'll have this moment.
Oh, don't make me laugh too hard. It hurts my back. Oh, it hurts my back when I laugh. I apologize. I'm in pain.
It's that weather, man. It's that bitter cold weather.
Oh no, I don't know what I did to it, but yeah. So no, you'll have this part where whatever challenge is given to them, they're definitely gonna push back against it, but it's gonna usually sometimes. It will, not sometimes, it obviously all the time, it kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Inverts itself against the character in the sense of like they, rather than embracing the meaning of Christmas, they're going to try and fight against it. So their reaction is usually they choose, similar to how Barbie does in that little shoe bit that they do, tries to choose what they think is the comfortable way. But really they have to go the other way because without it, you don't have a story and then the Hallmark movie is over. That's always one thing if you're ever doing like a litmus test. You say to yourself, because there's a lot of times that you're watching something and you're like, well, why don't they just do this? Do you ever have trouble with that? I have trouble with that all the time when I'm writing something. I'm like trying to find every little possible inconvenient.
I don't think it is possible to like fully pad those those holes. There's always inevitably going to be some solution that you're up with. They'd be like, oh yeah, that's an oversight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and with that you get the next part, which he calls like one of the character types he called him the dispatcher, similar to the donor. It kind of acts as like that mentor guide too, and this is a person who literally advises the protagonist and helps them on their path in the story. A lot of times in Hallmark, especially in romance movies or stories, you kind of combine this all usually into like the love interest. Okay. If you look at it, how many times where the guy that they're falling in love with is also like that thing where, they start out hating each other and then they end up loving each other by the end of the story, right? Yeah. You see that like a million times. Maybe not hate, but there's that dislike.
There's distaste, yeah.
So a lot of Hallmark movies will combine these character parts, archetypes, into the main squeeze of that story. They're going to be the one who's all about Christmas, forcing them to hold up a mirror to their life and where they're going. So they kind of act as not only the villain in some ways, at least a villain at first, a mentor antagonist, as was one term that gets thrown around a lot to sort of differentiate. Because a villain, usually when you say villain, you're thinking, okay, evil, bad, evil person.
And not necessarily just like an antagonist, somebody who's just opposed.
Yeah. And that's the difference too. When you have an antagonist, they're not, it doesn't necessarily mean they're evil.
It just means like that particular set of parameters for that storyline they're against, or they're in some way.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then this is where you have then like one of the next ones, you have like struggle and victory. In Hallmark Christmas movie, the challenges faced by the protagonist. This could be something as simple as you got that like conflict where, oh, she's gonna go back, or like I know there's one. Here's one I know where they get like the car breaks down or something. She's like a famous actress in her world, and her car or something, or her flight gets canceled due to a snowstorm, so she's got to spend a couple days in this town.
Wasn't that like the actual plot of the movie Holiday?
Is
Jack
it?
Black? I think isn't Cameron Diaz a high profile person of some kind? And then
Maybe. Is it? I mean, this is like, again, and that's the point, exactly the point here we're trying to make, that the reason that these movies do so well is because they are so familiar, because they are using this structure or for the most part using these elements that Propp outlined almost a century ago. And I would say he didn't discover them, or no, he did discover them. I'm sorry. He didn't create them. He discovered them, noticed it, said, okay, these things are working and they've been around for a while because of something that they're touching on. They all are sharing these similar moments. How they're executed, how you see them, how they're told will vary based on the author or authors.
And as you said before, the creators of the Hallmark Christmas movies may not be aware of this set of structures, but they're like, whether you give it a certain name to it or not, they're there regardless. They're
there, yeah, regardless, yeah. And like that, yeah, this struggle and victory moment. Oh, the plane is fixed, or the car's fixed, the storm has cleared. You can go, but if you go, you're gonna leave the guy that you've now started to fall in love with, and you're gonna miss the Christmas party or something like that. But if you don't, then you're not gonna get that big role you want. You have to be at the table read in LA in the next day or something. There's that ticking clock again that always comes in.
Keeping that pace up, keeping it.
Oh my God, my back.
You're having a real struggle over there. You all right?
Oh, it's bad. I have to
You gotta go get like a heating pad or something, man.
I don't know, yeah.
Soup.
But then, yes, in a Hallmark movie, there'll always be that they'll choose the spirit, the Christmas spirit renewal. They'll choose to, in the example I just gave, she'll choose to forego the big, huge starring role and choose the small town. There's that big theme, I'd say, back and forth, small town over huge urban setting, like the more like peaceful life. Or they'll take the opposite and it'll be like literally the main squeeze will be like a prince or something. They'll go kind of more like the classic traditional route with it, but the same thing still happens. And in that respect, if you do like the prince route, like they do in some of the Hallmark movies, then the struggle and victory will kind of end up in his lap, or the male character, the male lead's decision. It could be him who has to leave and then him who comes back, even though he's not the main character. So once again, there's a good example of same moment still happening, but we just kind of changed the lens on it. We gave it to one of the secondary characters, still probably the second most important character if we're considering the female lead the most important. We gave that decision to the other character just to twist it up a bit. There's anyone, however you want to build a house, you can build it, but some of the elements are still going to stay the same.
And OSHA might come down on you.
OSHA will absolutely come down on you 100%. What does OSHA do anyway exactly? I mean, I know what they do, but like, I don't know. Have you ever run into like an OSHA agent?
Your brother would be more knowledgeable on this than I would, but I mean, they still oversee. Like they may not always present violations get reported.
Yeah, and to be clear, we are talking about the Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I've ever actually seen someone. I don't know why I always picture like OSHA with like a hard hat that literally just says OSHA on it. A police officer has a badge. I just picture that when like OSHA's showing.
I always picture like an agent of the Dharma Corporation is going to come down on me.
That's true. This is a good one. At the end, yeah, you have then what's called the return, and that's where the hero embraces her new environment. In the Hallmark movies, this is simply their transformed life. They might stay in the small town, or if they marry the prince, or they go back, or they do end up going back to the big city, keep their job, but they revamp it, transform. They're all about being wholesome and Christmassy now. Similar to Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. You look at Ebenezer Scrooge. It's that same thing. It only happens, it just happens much faster. It happens in one single night. He transforms.
I saw something that made me laugh the other day. It was like, we all know that the true spirit of Christmas is ghosts haunting rich billionaires to convince them to pay their employees fair wages.
That's a good. Where'd you see that? You come up with these memes. I gotta find a. Who's your meme guy?
Dude, it's all over the place. Like 1,000 different sources, man.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, it was a good one. Made me laugh.
But yeah. But yes, that there's a huge, heavy transformational in Christmas stories specifically, but in these folk tales and in a lot of stories that you write, there is always going to be that huge growth of the character. That's one of the reasons that Die Hard is a Christmas movie, because you have a transformational. And
I will die on that hill.
Yes. No, even, is it John McTiernan who directed the first movie? Is that his name?
Yes, Shane Black just wrote it, correct?
Yeah, maybe. Regardless, the original creators of the Die Hard movie have stated it's a Christmas movie, or 100%.
Yeah.
It might be very different Christmas movie, but it is using the same structure.
The family story that's in the background of that very much is a Christmas movie.
Because you could not need that, and the movie would still work, but it would ring a little hollow. It would ring a little bit more hollow. Yeah, and that's huge. But there's that transformational arc that the character, he grows back in love with his wife. Because remember, they start out, they're estranged kind of from each other. She's been living out in L.A. He's from New York. I always think that's funny. In the first one, he's a cop from New York. He goes to L.A. In the second one, he's a cop from L.A., goes to D.C.
Yeah.
And then I think finally in the third one, he is a cop from New York in New York. But
yeah, we could go on a whole Die Hard tangent. I don't want to
but anyway,
drag you away from Hallmark.
No, but yeah, that was just my way of saying that transformational arc. It's a Wonderful Life. There's another one that shares a lot with the Hallmark movies.
That is one of
Props.
the best Christmas movies, I think.
Yeah.
That one stands atop a high hill.
Yeah, and that has the same elements that Propp was outlining. Credit, you can even look at the 31 that I named. Even I don't even know them off by memory. You can clump them together if you like. You can look at them and say, okay, maybe these are the same thing kind of going here for me. Whatever helps you, but what's important to know is that you look at it, it's just to say that these are the ingredients. How am I going to use them? I don't want to just follow the recipe per se. It's like, okay, I know this works. Why does it work? Now, how can I use that in my story? So yeah, even the Hallmark movies, even though the familiarity of them, even though it's formulaic, it touches on that universal human element. And that's what I think Propp was getting at with these stories. Now, whether or not he was trying to, credit, you think of where he would have grown up in Russia, 1895. He would have seen a lot of things when World War I, the Communist Revolution, all that. That could have heavily influenced it. So maybe that had to do something with why he was thinking like, hey, we have all these differences, but there's a lot of similarities too. And what is more Christmassy than the things that we all share together rather than the things that divide us?
About coming together as a family.
Yes. It's a story about family.
When the old when in doubt, the story's really about family.
My movies are about family.
Now, see, that's another good reference. That's a good one.
But yeah, you can look at this. I highly do. If you are interested in writing, it doesn't have to be a movie. It can be anything. If you are interested in storytelling, I would recommend reading Propp's book, because I do think it gives you another toolbox, many more tools that you can put in your toolbox that you can pull out and be like, okay, when I look at a movie, read a book, and if you like it, you say, okay, why do I like this? You start to ask yourself those questions. What's working about a scene? What's not? Or if you absolutely hate it, you can then look at it and you can actually say, here's why I hate it. I know sometimes I get a lot with, I mentioned it in Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. A lot of times now with the editing, for me, a lot of scenes, just when they cut, things seem to be so quick anymore.
Yeah.
That I personally, and maybe this is just because I'm getting older, I personally don't have I need a little bit more time to feel the emotion. emotion
I
when
think
I'm watching
Mark Hamill
something.
had talked about this not all that long ago, and he put it pretty eloquently. He's like, I couldn't even process it. It felt like it was been chopped up in a Cuisinart.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And
that
that
seems to be more and more the case.
Yeah, but this is, I think, and even just if you look at the Hallmark movies, I mean, they've made so many, and yes, they definitely have a formula, but it's a winning formula. At least right now.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, as they say.
Yeah. So and it's a good one that you can, if I were teaching a structure class, I'd be like, all right, we're going to watch a Hallmark movie. I want you to try and identify.
And they all ask, oh, which one? You're like, the Hallmark movie, the Hallmark Christmas movie. The only one that they've ever made.
The same one over and over.
Does it matter?
They've gotten away with this so many times.
He can't keep getting away with it.
But yes, do yourself a favor. Watch a Hallmark Christmas movie.
Grab a tall scotch.
Grab some family and friends. Watch a Hallmark Christmas movie together. Laugh at it, enjoy it, and then go read Vladimir Propp's Morphology of the Folktale after and fall asleep.
A pairing as old as time.
Yes, 100%. But yeah, you'll have this moment where at least the one
I thought that was a title.